Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And of course, hit that like, share, and subscribe on the button on the way in. There's a PayPal link up there for anybody that wants to share some love. And if you're on Hecklebus, get on over to El Perro and do the same. And if you're on El Perro, get over Hecklebus and do the hit like the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And we're going to talk tonight about the Royal Warrant Holders Association. And if you remember the video from last night where we were talking about the Iowa Master Custodial Agreement, as we started out with the contract officer and how it's all a matter of contracting and subcontracting and subcontracting. It just goes on down the line. You're actually, in fact, being considered a contract agent. That's the presumption. The legal fiction is a presumption of the facts presented to the court. And those are the facts presented to the court, that you're an agent of somehow. And what portion of that agent are you? It has to do with the warrants. Because if you don't show up, they're going to issue a warrant. So let's take a look at this. First, we're going to take a look at what is a warrant holding company. And right from Wikipedia, not the greatest source, but again, like I said many times, it is quite accurate. So as long as you do your research, like I say, don't believe me, don't believe your neighbor, don't believe your government, and for crying out loud, don't believe your mother. It's just like Wikipedia. Don't believe Wikipedia either. When you do your research, you research multiple sources on both sides of the track. If you're going to be biased in your research, then your research isn't going to do any good except support your bias. So, warrants in finance. In finance, a warrant is a security that entitles the holder being the custodian, like we spoke last night. He's holding it. And then, of course, you're a holder too, holding that identification. It's just that you don't hold the whole record and don't have access to the entitlement of buying and selling the securities because you're not quite that far up the line. You've got one of the little IDs, one of the minor IDs. To buy or sell stock, typically the stock of the issuing company. So if the state issued that driver's license, it's the state that you're selling stock in. At a fixed price, called the exercise price. Warrants and options are similar in that the two contractual financial instruments allow the holder special rights to buy securities. So warrants and options are for buying securities. Okay. Let's look at the next one. And that is from Investopedia. And I don't know why it's not showing the whole page. There we go. Got it. Okay, first I want to say greetings to everybody. Norman, Lori, Chavez, JLV, anybody else that's out there. Again, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. The StreamYard link is pinned for anybody that wants to come up. And there is a PayPal link for anybody who wants to share some love. So let's take a look at it. This is from Investopedia. And this is a warrant is similar to an option, giving the holder the right, but not the obligation to buy an underlying security at a certain price, quantity, and future time. It's unlike an option in that a warrant is issued by a company, whereas an option is an instrument offered by a central exchange, such as the Chicago Board's option. Okay? So it's unlike an option in that a warrant is issued by a company. So when that courthouse issues the warrant, they are the company issuing the warrant. And an option is an instrument offered by a central exchange. So they aren't making an offer. What they're doing is buying an underlying security and saying you offered it to them. When that officer pulls you over alongside the road, he's saying that you made the offer. Why? Because you had an advertisement on that automobile known as a license plate. That is an advertisement. The security represented in the warrant, the security represented in the warrant, usually share equity. Always share equity. This is they shouldn't be using this if there's a name involved in it, whether it be a company name or the name of a private man. There is an equity base. That's why the law, the codes that they call the law, are known to be equitable, because they all hold some kind of equity somewhere, because somebody is making a representation of a security interest, and it comes out in options, warrants, and put calls. Put warrants, call warrants, options, they're all investment instruments, is delivered by the issuing company instead of a counterparty holding shares. The security represented in the warrant is delivered by the issuing company instead of a counterparty holding shares. So the courthouse is the counterparty holding shares. And then when the nice officer extends your offer to them through that citation, you don't know what's going on, but they have a representation of a security interest in the warrant. Warrant. A warrant can also increase the shareholders' confidence. Well, of course, the state as a shareholder is going to increase their confidence as long as the people are fucking stupid. Provided the underlying value of the security increases over time. As long as you don't catch on to the game, that insurance that you keep paying is going to increase the security for them. Until you start emptying that coffer and putting it back into your own pocket, it will increase for them over time. Let's examine the types of warrants, their characteristics, and the advantages and disadvantages they offer. Key takeaways. Warrants are issued by companies, giving the holder the right but not the obligation to buy a security at a particular price. So they have an option. They can use it to buy a security and take on the obligation, or they can use it just to buy the security and subrogate the obligation to someone else. See what happens in those courts? Watch where this goes. Companies often include warrants as part of share offerings to entice investors into buying a new security. That traffic citation is a new security. It's a new issue, and you signed it. You signed it. Warrants tend to exaggerate the percentage change movement compared to the underlying share price. Of course, they're going to buff it up as much as they can through those codes. Types of warrants. There are two types of warrants. Call warrants and put warrants. A call warrant represents a specific number of shares that can be purchased from the issuer at a specific price on or before a certain date. A put warrant represents a certain amount of equity that can be sold back to the issuer at a specified price on or before a stated date. Warrants are just one type of equity derivative. But it's the easiest way to get the equity out of the issuer because the issuer is stupid and is going to keep signing documents for them. Characteristics of a warrant. The warrant certificate includes disclosures about the security's characteristics and the holder's rights or obligations. So, would it not be wise to ask for the warrant certificate? Would it not be right to ask for the warrant certificate? All warrants have a specified expiration date, which is the last day the rights of the warrant can be executed. So when the court clerk issued the bench warrant on the Keith Orland Little, I should be able to go down to that clerk of courts and ask her for a copy of that warrant certificate to see when that warrant can be executed upon its last day. Because once that warrant expires, then what happens? See, they issued a warrant. That means somebody bought or sold the security. And if it was bought, then somebody sold it. And if it was sold, somebody bought it. Particularly if they issue the warrant and they come get me, then that means many people bought into it. Many people got suckered into that dream of making money on me. Let's see how that works. Warrants are also classified by their exercise style. For example, an American warrant can be exercised anytime before or on the stated expiration date, while a European warrant can be exercised only on the expiration date. So in this American justice system, they can execute a warrant before its expiration date because the people are so stupid they don't know what that warrant is or how to invest in it. And I'm not talking just about anybody else out there. I'm talking about myself. I didn't know this. I was the fucking fool. I was the fucking idiot all my life. Didn't have any interest in learning it beyond high school except for what I was involved in and not worrying about the rest of the financial world that I was actually involved in. It didn't know how it was working. And that was the whole problem in my life, trying to figure out how to get my finances right and didn't understand the first thing about financing, how to manage my bank account. Didn't know the first thing about banking. Again, handing all these things over to other people is a convenience of you not knowing. And my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So let's go on to the next one again from another Investopedia. It says, what is a warrant? That was a derivative warrant. The last one was a derivative warrants. Or this is a derivative warrant. I'm sorry. The last one was warrant. This is based on derivative warrants. And it says warrants are a derivative that give the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell. So you can buy or sell with a warrant, but it only gives you the right and not the obligation. So where is the obligation? Again, most commonly on equity at a certain price before expiration. The price at which the underlying security can be bought or sold is referred to as the exercise price or strike price. You have to strike against the American government. An American warrant can be exercised at any time on or before the expiration date, while European warrants can only be exercised on the expiration date. Warrants that give the right to buy a security are known as call warrants. those that give the right to sell a security are known as put warrants. So the court has a current put warrant out, which is stating that they have the right to sell the security in the underlying case, the underlying cases in the case, or the underlying securities in the case that they secured. So they secured the case by getting an order and an issue. The judge ordered it. The clerk of court issued it. That's two people in conspiracy. I don't care if they call it normal everyday activity or not. They conspired at one time or another to issue a security for a warrant to have other people come and get another man to make merchandise of him on something he knew nothing about. That's kidnapping and making merchandise of one of the children of Israel. I dare you. So let's take a look at the last thing here. Because those people, it says, JLV says, why is those teaching equity then do not speak about this equity in the code? Because they're teaching principles based upon their own observances, and they don't do all the research in all the other extra areas. They do it in equity only and think that that's what makes them an expert. Okay? Yes, this is exactly what happens when somebody thinks they're buying a car. What you're actually doing is they put a warrant out instead of a purchase order. That purchase order is on the window of the car. That's what you want. That's a purchase order. And you get to fill it in and put your terms on it. And it's an offer to you that if they don't extend and do so deceitfully by handing you a different document, then that is fraud. Pure and simple. If you want to purchase something, you go buy it. You do the purchase through a purchase order. That means the order is already there. So same thing when you buy a house, you need a purchase order. Otherwise, they convert it to a promissory note. A negotiable instrument is a note or a promise if it is a note, and a draft if it is, or an order if it is a draft. UCC definition terms. So, what we have before us is what's called the Royal Warrant Holders Association. Royal Warrant Holders Association. Welcome to the Royal Warrant Holders Association. The association represents individuals and companies holding royal warrants of appointment. When you take upon that identification in any form, that is an appointment, including the school identification for those children. That is an appointment of a person, and they are being considered in a contract venue. They may not be considered the contractor, but they are considered in a contract venue. That education system is a contract venue. The hospital is a contract venue. The 501c3 churches, those are contract venues. And it is a mark. Why is a mark so important? Because it means so many things. It means a name, a calling, a signature, an autograph, and many, many, many more. Of recognition with a unique status in business. Now you can search for the royal warrant holders, and I'm not going to do that. You guys can do this on your own. All you have to do is research Royal Warrant Holders Association. And you should be able to find this. What is a royal warrant? A royal warrant of appointment is a document that permits a company to use the royal arms. Now you see with them police with them red dragons. What are these? These are unicorns. That's a unicorn, people. This is their coat of arms. It has a unicorn on it. See the lion there? That's one of their artistic talents. That right there is one of their artistic talents. It's that red lion you see on the cars. You see that? That's another red lion. You see these are more red lions. You see these are more red lions. This is a unicorn. Notice there's no unicorn on the head here. This is a unicorn. It has a horn on the head. Okay? In an appointed trading capacity. Diet Mandroit. A trading capacity. That licenses a trade capacity. That ID, trade capacity. You go down to McDonald's and get a job down there, and they have that nice little personalized pin that you can put on your shirt that tells you of your trading capacity. Go flip some more fucking burgers. That's all you're worth. And remember, people, you're the ones putting that value on it. You're the ones that think you can. That's the only kind of job you can get when you can create your own job. You can create your own space in this world. It is granted for up to 5 years at a time as a mark of recognition. You cognize something in your mind, and then you make a mark of recognition with graven images. It's a mark of recognition. It's an identification. That little line right there says the exact same thing as identification. It is synonymous. Up to 5 years at a time as an identification for the ongoing supply of goods and services to the royal household. Ongoing supply of goods or services to the royal household. Who do you think this royal household is? That's the International Parliamentary Union. It used to be the Queen, Her Royal Highness the Queen, His Royal Highness the Prince, and His Royal Highness the Duke. Now, since the Queen has passed on, now we have His Highness the King, His Highness the Prince, and His Highness the Duke. For the royal household, the Inter-Parliamentary Union. We now have a male, masculine-centered, what they call empire. The monarch decides who may grant royal warrants. That's the Universal Postal Union and the 193 leaders of those nations and their sub-custodians. These are known as the grantors. Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, His Duke of Edinburgh, His Royal Highness the Prince Charles, Prince of Wales. And now they have Prince Charles is now the king, and the Prince Philip is still the Duke. But now we have Prince Andrew. All granted royal warrants. The warrant is granted to a named individual within a company. A named individual within a company. The Universal Postal Union is a company, and the president is an individual in that company, known as the grantee, and that is why he is allowed to sign documents on behalf of that Constitution of the United States, because it falls under the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union, who is responsible for the correct use of the relevant royal arms. Upon a change of monarch, the royal household reviews warrant grants, while the company or individual may continue to use the royal arms in connection with the business for up to 2 years. So now that we've had that change, like I said, we had that change in the royal house, and you will see it within the next 2 years, because the business is going to be run by a masculine man, and he will make certain changes. Today, there are around 800 royal or holders of royal warrants of appointment, representing a huge cross-section of trade and industry, from individual craftspeople to global multinational. These are your elites, people. There are around 800 elites in this world with these royal warrants, saying that they have the option to buy or sell, but no obligation. And everyone else has an obligation. Really? I find that hard to believe. I find that so hard to believe, I wouldn't have any problem telling any of them to suck my you-know-what. They are united by a commitment to the highest standards of service. Okay, then let's take the commitment to the highest standards of service to the highest standard. Quality, excellence, and craftsmanship, huh? Where was that part? Supplying individuals to the household. Anyway, let's get on to the next one. The Royal Warrant Holders Association was formed in 1840. That was the year America established its first public school. That was also the time they were establishing the land grant colleges, so that this could all be a contract country issuing warrants to ensure the continued existence of the Royal Warrant as a treasured institution. Today, it continues to assist with the administration of warrants, as well as advising members in all royal warrant matters. That's that advertisement that you carry on that car. It's the license plate saying you have some kind of mark as a warrant officer. And you're being held to the highest standards of service. So line up, you servant. The association is not part of the royal household, but belongs to its members. The association is not part of the royal household, but belongs to its members. Its members are part of the royal household. Therefore, the association doesn't exist in reality, just like every other legal fiction. It is a presumption of the facts until you dismiss it yourself. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference to me, because I ain't a member of that ship. Is open to all warrant holding companies. Well, how do you become a warrant holding company unless you get a warrant? Unless you're granted a warrant. Alongside its partners, the association offers a full events program and opportunities for members to connect at national level and through its local associations. This is what I cannot impress this enough. If you want to learn how to communicate with the people nationally, you have to learn who they are communicating with. You have to learn their channels of communication. You have to know how these things work so you can tell them to fuck off. The Pope in his unum sanctum, claiming the living souls of all men. Isaiah 43:1 and 44:5. You could suck my dick. It also supports local charities through its charity fund and craftspeople via Quest. Once a year, the association also awards the Plowden Medal for advancement within conservation profession. And I keep telling everybody, this is their most important concern, is the conservation, and that's why those conservation easements are so important, because if they get caught subjecting the land to their blasphemy, guess what? They end up in a little bit of trouble. See, I've told you before, they have to condemn the land for its use. Somebody like me comes along and points that out to him, and he's a redeemer. Now, I'm not going to say my word is all powerful, that I'm going to do anything all powerful. I would like to think so, just like anybody else in that ego. But I also know that I'm not going to lay down like a little bitch. History of royal warrant can be traced back to medieval times when competition for royal favor was intense. Like I said, it's a popularity contest, and you keep wanting to be popular by carrying the ID and climbing up that ladder so you can get a better and better ID, identification, because you don't know who you are. Was intense, and the monarch had the pick of the country's best tradespeople, because they didn't give a fuck about your family. They wanted to know what your skills were in trading so you could trade things and give them to them as a collection of the royal household. By the 15th century, the Lord Chamberlain, as head of the royal household, formally appointed tradespeople with a royal warrant of appointment, a practice that continues today. That little thing right there, that says authority at the bottom. By authority. By what authority? By what authority? In the 18th century, royal tradesmen began displaying the royal arms on their premises and stationery. Stationery. In 1840, the Royal Warrant Holders Association was formed. Scroll through the timeline to discover some highlights from the history of the Royal Warrant, stretching back from the present day to its early origins. You see that? You see that cross? Are you paying attention? Royal Charter was renewed in 2007. Oh, look at her. She looks so proud. So proud to be signing a book. Disgusting. All these people clamoring in a popularity contest because of egos. By authority. Royal Warrant Holders Association by authority. By what authority? In 1520, royal tradespeople create the Field of the Cloth of Gold for Henry VIII near Venice, the magnificent site for his diplomatic meeting with Francois I of France. Goes back a long time, folks. And I suggest you start doing some research. Yes, Pall Mall. That was the brand I smoke, and that's exactly what they've got on there is the lion. You look on. I'm not going to say all of your police vehicles, but I know something at least I would hope you'd pay attention to, because I'm tired of being one of the very few that pays attention to it. Because without enough people speaking out, it's never going to be heard. It's never going to change a whole lot. I can change my situation, but in order for me to be able to help other people, they have to have a comprehension. And this is why I say I can describe things for you. I can explain things to you, but I can't. I can't comprehend it for you. That's where you have to do your research on both sides of the track to get those comparisons, so you can make your own discernment. Too many people, and myself included, for many years, walked around just believing what other people said. And we've got to get out of that. We've really got to learn how to do our own research and push those mechanisms in that social society to get out of the popularity contest, to get away from the ego and get into the love spectrum of letting each other know that even though you're not as capable as I am, or I'm not as capable as you are in certain aspects of our life, we can come together and have at least a successful union in helping each other reach their goals. And that's all that's all we have to do. We need to realize that instead of pointing to somebody and saying, hey, that's a smart guy, we need to look at ourselves and say, hey, what can I do to learn what he's got? This is the parable of the talents, going forth with your talents and coming back with extra talents because you were willing to share. Quid quo pro, equal consideration. That story about give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but if you teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. But the true principle, again, is not just to teach him so that he can feed himself, but so that he can go forth as a teacher, and that exponential growth is the popularity, not the man. The message, not the man. Again, listening to the message and not the messenger. People get so wrapped up in the messenger and think it's all the messenger. No, the messenger got his message from somebody else, from somewhere else. Eyes to see, ears to hear. And remember, folks, the eyes and ears are the only two places in the body that have solid crystal forms. While the rest of the body is liquid and fluid in motion, it is to a liquid crystal. We are crystal bodies. We are meant to have some kind of memory. You hear them say all the time, water has memory. You hear physical therapists say it's all muscle memory. Trainers, muscle memory. You are a memory unit, MEM, a membrane, and that membrane has an oration, memory. Okay. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I just wanted to explain that warrant situation. They are war rants. If you're already at peace, you don't need a popularity contest. Your popular king is already popular, and you shouldn't be distracting it with somebody else's popularity issues with their ego. So think about this stuff, and remember, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal button for anybody that wants to share some love. And remember, folks, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. You guys are the ones that need this information, and I'm just trying to help you get motivated to start doing this stuff, because you really need to do this. You've been so indoctrinated into believing that what you have is good enough, when you're all kings and queens and you deserve the best. So think about that. And remember, folks, I love you. I don't give a fuck whether you love me back or not. That's up to you. But God bless, and we'll see you again next time. Have a good night. Bye.